Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video, we're going to be looking at the question, what are bladders of philosophy? Now, bladders of philosophy is an accusation leveled at the practice of philosophy and reason itself by the satirical poet John Wilmot, Earl of Rochester, in his famous poem, A Satyr Against Reason and Mankind. Rochester argues that reason is just as fallible as the other senses and often leads individuals astray by drawing them away from the real world, by valuing the supposedly indubitable mind over the external body. Despite my depiction here, Rochester is referring to flotation devices when he says bladders, making bladders of philosophy devices that one might use in vain to seek benefits that reason promises, when in fact one should instead realize that reason can lead us into error, as reason with 50 times for one does err, and seek happiness that our instinct and senses drive us to, as opposed to the fancies that reason points us at, or the bladders of philosophy attempt us to keep afloat in. His point in calling philosophy bladders is that it's a temporary attempt to keep on above water in a sea of doubt. Rochester's critique can be seen in several ways. It might be seen as a general rejection of academic pursuits that place knowledge over happiness, arguing that wit and reason do not lead to a good life, but rather lead to philosophers following formulas instead of their appetites, and led Diogenes to live in a tub. Ironically, Diogenes would likely have agreed with Rochester on some points, as the Cynics argued for a rejection of modernity and a return to the animalistic fulfillment of desires. But that's an aside point. Check out our video on cynicism for more on that. We might also take Rochester's criticism to be an epistemic one, that we should not trust our reason any more than our five senses. Thomas Reid made a similar argument, claiming that reason and the senses came from the same source, our minds, and so are equally fallible. But there are also several reasons we might be concerned with Rochester's critique. First, there do seem to be real benefits that come from study. Many people enjoy learning about philosophy and doing philosophy, and philosophy can lead to benefits in the real world that increase standards of living, like developing the scientific method. Just because rational thinking isn't Rochester's cup of tea doesn't mean that it doesn't bring pleasure and happiness to some, and doesn't mean that it can't help us discover things that would bring pleasure and happiness to many, even those that personally don't enjoy doing philosophy. Second, we might argue that reason is valuable because it can be shared and jointly critiqued in a way that sensory data can't. If I think something tastes good and you think it tastes bad, there's little we can do to settle our disagreement. But reason and rationality allow for us to look at a problem with the same tools and arrive at the same conclusion. The difference is not that reason is infallible, but rather that it is public and open for public debate in a way that the senses are not, and preferences are not. And so while pursuing our senses may be good for personal happiness or fulfillment, using reason can be better for collective fulfillment and collective understanding because it's something that can be shared. Now, to finish out, here's a quick excerpt from the poem in question. Were I, who to my cost already am, one of these strange, prodigious creatures, man, a spirit free to choose for my own share what case of flesh and blood I pleased to wear, I'd be a dog, a monkey, or a bear, or anything but that vain animal who is so proud of being rational. The senses are too gross, and he'll contrive a sixth to contradict the other five, and before certain instinct will prefer reason, which 50 times for one does err. Reason and igneous fatus of the mind, which leaving light of nature sense behind, pathless and dangerous wandering ways it takes, through errors, fenny bogs, and thorny brakes, whilst the misguided follower climbs with pain mountains of whimsies heaped in his own brain, stumbling from thought to thought, falls headlong down into doubt's boundless sea where, like to drown, books bear him up a while and make him try to swim with bladders of philosophy. In hopes still to o'ertake the escaping light, and the vapor dances in his dazzling sight, till spent it leaves him to eternal night. Then old age and experience hand in hand lead him to death and make him understand, after a search so painful and so long, that all his life he has been wrong. Huddled in dirt the reasoning engine lies, who was so proud, so witty, and so wise. A big thanks to Ghostly Yorick for supporting Carneades.org on Patreon since 2018. You too can support the channel and get access to Patreon exclusive posts for just $2 a month, less than the price of buying me a book of poetry. If you want to support public philosophy, please do consider donating. With that, what do you think? Do philosophers put too much emphasis on scholarly pursuits and not enough on instinct and pleasure? Is reason better than the senses? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.